You're very welcome back to Red Business in Focus with Cork's local enterprise offices, where we're sharing Cork's success stories. And this week we have a great one for you. Justin Green of Ballyvolane House and Ballyvolane House Spirits Company in the spotlight. We're going to be talking to him about the successful house itself. They do boutique weddings, they've got glamping experiences, but more importantly, they have branched into drink. And we'll get to that as well. Justin, it is lovely to meet you again. How are you?
Very well, and thanks for having me on.
We start this series with everybody having 30 seconds to talk about the company, to tell us the essence of what you do. So your 30 seconds starts now.
Great. I own, along with my wife, Ballyvolane House, which is a historic house, B&B, built in 1728. And we operate accommodation. We host small weddings as well. We have glamping in the summer months. And we also operate a gin distillery where we make a gin called Bertha's Revenge Gin. And we also have glorious gardens, which is a big part of the whole Ballyvolane experience.
Again, somebody who didn't need 30 seconds. We're getting really good at this, by the way. You've captured the whole situation. It started out as a farm, though. I mean,
right.
Would you describe yourself predominantly as a farmer who's branched into business?
Exactly. Well, I grew up on a farm, and I wouldn't describe myself as a very good farmer, but I've done a lot of farming, mainly digging holes and fixing broken tractors. But yeah, my father was a dairy farmer for the vast majority of his life, and then in the 1980s, my parents decided to open the house as a B&B, historic house B&B, and that's when they entered the tourism game and hospitality, and they were natural hosts and very good at it. And I actually ended up going to Shannon Hotel School, and I've worked all around the world in luxury sort of 5-star hotels, and then came back in 2004, just after my mum passed away, and took over the reins from my parents.
To describe it as just a house is completely wrong, because it is a spectacular property, isn't it?
Well, we love it. We have a very deep emotional attachment to the place, and what we offer is a very authentic travel experience. I think it's got beautiful antiques and family portraits, and the ambience is old school. And I think when people come and stay with us, they feel a real connection with Cork, with it's just a sense of history, and it gives them a sense of place, and it's very stylish. We take a lot of trouble to keep the house in good nick, and being a house that's nearly 300 years old requires a huge, colossal effort and upkeep, and but we want to ensure our guests have all the creature comforts like comfy beds, good Wi-Fi, as well as preserving that sort of sense of mystery that people love.
And you did the weddings, obviously, which is a huge part of the business.
Yep.
Well, was until a certain thing, which we'll talk about in a minute. But glamping. Did you consider glamping a risk? Because I consider if I had to go on glamping, it would be massively risky because I like my comfort.
Yeah, sure. No, but they're very comfy, and it is camping. It's not for everyone. There's no, you're not going to.
Is there a toilet indoors?
Not indoors,
Well,
but there is. It is indoors. You don't have to go in the hedge, but you can. We have a beautiful.
What a sales pitch! I think you should put that on the side.
We have a beautiful wash house with showers, just a short walk from the glamping area, and people have dinner in the main house. And we have a combination of bell tents and pig arks, which are like a traditional pig ark, but slightly bigger for which can accommodate humans.
Yeah, I'm going to stay in the house if it's okay.
Yeah.
I like the theory. The problem with hospitality is COVID happened. And that meant that all your weddings and all those brides and grooms who you have been working with to have their wonderful day, none of it could happen. I mean, how difficult were the last 2 years?
Really difficult, particularly for the couples and their families. We have some couples who are getting married this summer. This is their 4th attempt, and it's been deeply frustrating and upsetting for them and so many levels. And most of them have had children, funny enough, so they've all cracked on and started a family, which is brilliant. So they're coming to get married with their toddlers.
That's a great story.
So we're really looking forward to getting back up and running again.
Now, you did diversify. You seem to be good at diversifying.
Yeah.
And the gin is a prime example. When did gin become an idea for you?
Well, I've been watching the rise of premium gin in the UK over the last 15 years, and always looking for opportunities to try and fend off starvation, particularly in the winter months, because our business is very busy in the summer. And then unfortunately in rural Cork, in our part of Cork anyway, the tourist season is quite short. And so we have to, and we never really quite generate enough to keep the show on the road year round. So we're always looking for ideas and opportunities, and gin was something we went and explored, and here we are.
We'll talk about the different varieties of gin in just a minute. minute, but explain Bertha's Revenge, because it's a brilliant story behind the name.
Yeah, well, it's got a huge USP in that we're using whey alcohol as our base spirit, where most gins you would sit down and sip would be made out of a grain spirit, mostly wheat, sometimes barley. And we are using a whey alcohol, which is derived from cow's milk, and the milk is supplied by local dairy farmers. That is separated into curds and whey, and the curds goes off to make cheese, and then the whey is fermented with a special strain of yeast, and then distilled numerous times, and then we redistill it with all our botanicals to give it the flavour. And one of the characteristics of whey is quite rich and luscious in texture, and we use a lot of spice in our gin because it carries all those heady spices incredibly well.
Yeah, but tell us about Bertha. Bertha is the most important part of the story.
Bertha is a very important part of our story. She was the world's oldest cow, and she was a Drimmen, which is a native Irish species of cow, and she lived in County Kerry and died in 1993 at the remarkable age of 48 years old, and she earned an entry into the Guinness Book of World Records.
And her revenge is the gin?
It's not supposed to be negative. I think she's coming back in her own terms, and she had 39 calves, so I think if you'd had given birth 39 times, you'd be an angry cow.
Absolutely. So you've got different varieties of gin. I mean, when I was younger, there was one type of gin.
Yeah, Cork gin.
Cork gin. That was it. Like if you're having a G&T, that's what they gave.
That was it. No, likewise.
So why have different types of it, and what are the different?
Yeah, well, our flagship gin is your regular sort of 42% ABV, and then after that we developed a slow gin, which is traditionally drunk in the winter time. It's wild slows and cultivated slows, which ripen usually in the autumn, and they are infused with our gin for about 6 months in big 200-litre barrels, and we roll them up and down the floor of the distillery once a week just to get good gin fruit contact.
That helps with the muscles.
Keeps you fit, and then we decant the berries after about 6-7 months, and then we add sugar at the end to taste. And so that's our second one. Our third one is the Navy Strength, which the whole term came about during the Napoleonic era, when the Royal Navy used to keep all their hooch in casks on the decks of the ships, and if there was a raging storm and it spilled over, or the French were having a crack at them, and it wet the gunpowder with the alcohol, if it was below 57.1%, it would not ignite. So the quartermasters in the Royal Navy used to insist on a high-strength hooch. And the higher the ABV, the more flavour it carries. So it's something that cocktail mixologists would often reach for if they're mixing gin-based cocktails, because the gin would really express itself really well.
Brilliant.
And then the last one is the crab apple gin, which is one we just launched a couple of weeks ago, and that is made in the same way as slow gin. We infuse crab apples in our gin, and we source the crab apples from a friend of mine called David Keane in Cappoquin, and they make a very fine apple juice called Crinnaton. And then we add a jaggery sugar at the end, which is a raw, unrefined Indian jaggery sugar. It's very perfumed, and then we infuse that with a little bit of clove.
I'm loving the crab apples, which I would just assume are the most useless thing ever. You found a use for them.
Well, exactly. Well, David actually grows them. He's an apple grower by profession, and he uses them as pollinators because they have a very long flowering time, so they're really good to get the bees working to pollinate the flowers.
You've had a lot of support over the years. What was the biggest bit of support?
Well, I have to say the LEO have been absolutely fantastic. Our local enterprise office in Mallow, Kevin Curran and Joan Kelleher have been immensely supportive in terms of grants to help with buying equipment. We had mentoring, during the COVID period as well. We had help with getting outdoor furniture for outside dining from the house. And we've also moved our business online. So we set up an online shop for the gin as well as in the house, and that really helped sort of get through what was a very difficult time.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story. I just love the diversity that you now have in the business.
Yeah.
That it could have just been a house that did hotels, but now you're a house that does glamping, you're a house that does gin. You keep yourself fit by rolling those barrels. There's so much you can do. If people want to find out about the alcohol, I think it's Ballyvolane Spirits.ie.
Correct.
And if it's the house, it's BallyvolaneHouse.ie.
Correct.
Justin, it's been lovely talking to you, and wish you
and
all the family the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
And that is it from this episode. Do join us next week when we'll be joined by Loretta Kennedy of Mama Bear Foods. She's going to share her story of how she began her business at her kitchen table in 2017 when she couldn't find healthy tomato sauce for her children. Now she's got listings from Avoca to Aldi, health food stores and selected super values as well. And it all started at the kitchen table. Can't wait to hear that story. We'll see you next week on Red Business in Focus with Cork's local enterprise offices.